It is no secret that I adore the Budokai series, as evidenced by the 2 hours I spent talking about it. And while this may irritate some people, I think that the Budokai games are superior to the Tenkaichi series.
Oh, shut up! Silly woman!
Even though I am a big fan of these games, I haven't played all of them. Missing out on the portable entries. I did have a PlayStation Portable, but I had no idea this game existed until recently. So had I been deprived of the greatest Budokai game of all time? No.
Stop it! You're spoiling it! You're spoiling everything!
Dragon Ball Z Shin Budokai was released in 2006 for the PSP. It was developed by Dimps, the same company that was responsible for Budokai 1, 2 and 3. It borrows heavily from the previous entries in the series. At first glance, it appears to be a portable adaptation of Budokai 3's gameplay. Shin Budokai, on the other hand, modifies the gameplay in a few key ways which helps it to differentiate it from the games that came before it. My first thoughts when entering a match was that this game looks great. The benefit of the cell shading style really shines through, as it can look fantastic even on a less powerful system. The characters stand out from the backgrounds thanks to the vibrant colours and outlines, with the backgrounds themselves looking quite good. Although the snow effect isn't particularly impressive because the snow is simply placed over the camera rather than falling within the stages. Also, sometimes the parallax is off and gives the impression that the background is moving. While the game was able to keep the character models in high quality, the characters no longer have any mouth movements.
You were pretty good!
Or expressions, other than one neutral face, although I must admit that the faces look better than those in Budokai 3. It's just a shame they don't move. The animations are wonderful, and they contribute to the controls feeling extremely satisfying to use. Shin Budokai's characters move faster than those in previous Budokai games. Combos are delivered faster, and the characters themselves can move faster. Several new movement animations have been added to smooth out the action, including a small backwards flip when someone recovers from being knocked down, which they also do in the air. Somehow, it's magic. Wow, yes, it's key. It's key magic. Don't worry, it's canon. The key blasts and auras still look great. The special and ultimate attacks have been toned down a bit, but this ties into the gameplay. Shin Budokai's soundtrack is just the Budokai 3 soundtrack, which if you're like me and love the Budokai 3 soundtrack, then this is a plus. But I can't help but feel that they're reusing these tracks a little bit too much. As a lot of Budokai 3's soundtrack was also featured in the first Budokai Tenkaichi game, at least for the versions released outside of Japan anyway. All of the sound effects from the anime are carried over, as are the Funimation dubbed voices. Given that this is made for a portable system, I'm honestly really impressed. It looks great, it sounds great, but does it play great? Shin Budokai's gameplay is very similar to Budokai 3, but it has a few differences that set it apart from its older brother. It has standard punches and kicks, as well as a key blast. When you press the guard button at the right time, you can not only guard but also dodge attacks. Key moves can be charged, and the longer they are charged, the more damage they deal. Shin Budokai saw the first application of the Aura Burst system. Holding the R button causes the character to emit a burst of energy around them. During this burst, the character has the ability of dashing around the arena at a breakneck speed, dash punching the opponent, or hitting the opponent with an attack that stuns them for several seconds. Not only is the character vulnerable to attack while using Aura Burst, but the burst also depletes the ki gauge, and if the ki gauge reaches 0, the character loses their transformation and is stunned for a few seconds. Aura Burst was later seen in Infinite World and Burst Limit, but I found it to be the most fun in this game. The removal of the capsule system is the most significant gameplay difference between Shin Budokai and Budokai 3. The capsule system has been a fixture of the Budokai series, and it has even been reintroduced for Infinite World. You could customize a character's attacks and passive buffs by equipping up to 7 capsules. Rather than relying on capsules, the characters in Shin Budokai have their own set of moves, including 2 special moves, an ultimate move, and various combos. A series of punches and kicks will result in a combo that can be cancelled out of, even into special moves. This gives the characters a very versatile and fluid feel to them, even better than in Budokai 3, but not as good as Infinite World. But Infinite World is a whole other can of worms.
Oh, shut up, silly woman.
The special and ultimate moves vary depending on your character's form. As a result, you'll occasionally need to change your playstyle mid-battle. Another significant change is the health system. Instead of losing a small amount of health when blocking, a character doesn't immediately lose health while blocking attacks. However, the damage dealt while blocking is indicated in red, and if the character can avoid damage for a few seconds, the damage dealt while blocking will heal itself back up. So you can now defend against an ultimate attack while still having a chance to recover with your health intact. Ultimate moves in this game aren't as dynamic and are a lot easier to execute. I believe this is one of the reasons why they changed how the health worked. Ultimates can essentially be performed whenever you have enough ki. You don't need to go into hyper mode or anything. This means that using these attacks is less risky, and I find myself using them more frequently. They aren't really overpowered, as the AI has the habit of doing the same. Since the cutscenes that used to accompany these attacks have been significantly toned down, they aren't as annoying when spammed, and can now be blocked or avoided with careful timing. Similar to the Tenkaichi series, characters can start a fight already transformed, and any character with multiple transformations can only select one to become in a fight. All transformations, whether Super Saiyan 2 or 3, can be activated at 4 bars of ki, just 1 bar higher than the starting level. Fighters can reach their strongest transformations far too easily, putting characters with weaker transformations at a disadvantage. Furthermore, because stronger transformations cost the same as weaker transformations, there is no reason to ever choose weaker transformations, except for the fact that Super Saiyan 2 looks the coolest. If the game simply required more ki for more powerful transformations, I think this system would have worked much better and be more balanced. The game features a total of 18 characters, 13 of which are unlocked from the start. This roster is quite a bit smaller than other Budokai games, and when combined with the removal of the capsule system customization, it is very limited when compared to its console counterparts. The characters that are present, on the other hand, are well realised, with the iconic attacks and movesets. The real-time ultimate attacks and the aura bursts allow for faster paced fights. With the removal of Dragon Rush and less flashy attack animations, it feels like you're being interrupted less during a fight. It just feels more fluid and I really like it, to the point where this might be my favourite Budokai game purely based on the gameplay. However, there are still the game modes to go over, and this is where Shin Budokai starts to fall a bit short. Dragon Road is the story mode for Shin Budokai. The structure of Dragon Road is very simple. You'll enter a map that is curiously laid out on Snake Way. I'm not sure why the mode isn't called Snake Way or Snake Road or something, but a lot of the plot revolves around the other world, so this imagery does make sense. I just feel like they missed an opportunity for the name to match up better with... yeah, it doesn't matter. There will be an icon with a profile picture of the character you'll be fighting against. Each of these icons will take you to a cutscene in which the characters interact with one another. And I use the term cutscene very loosely, because if you've ever played Budokai 3 or a visual novel game, you'll be familiar with this type of cutscene. The characters will communicate with one another via text box with an image of the character. The character artwork is fine, I guess. Nothing special, and appears to be just renderings of the 3D models. The main problem with these character images is that each character and their various transformations only have one, meaning each character has only one expression, usually slightly angry but ultimately indifferent, regardless of what happens.
We're gonna die! Meh.
Shin Budokai takes place 2 years after Kid Buu's defeat. This is a refreshing change of pace from the other Budokai games, who have all followed the Saiyan saga up to the Buu saga. The story mode follows the plot of the Fusion Reborn movie, but not exactly, as it does deviate quite a bit from the plot of the movie by adding in lots of... well, we'll get to that. Goku is going camping with his friends and hopes to be joined by Piccolo and Vegeta. Goku expecting Vegeta to go camping with him is a bit optimistic in my view, but that's the plot. Goku is taken aback when he sees his son Gohan, who is supposed to be studying for a test. Gohan explains that his mother told him,
"You can't stay in your room all the time."
so he decides to get some exercise today. This is the setup for the game's first fight. Each icon on the map menu will take you to a different fight, and there is always a short story cutscene before each fight. This structure works extremely well for the game's portability. You get a little bit of both story and gameplay. These bite-sized segments allow you to pick up and play, as well as put down the game when necessary. Goku wins the sparring match since Gohan hasn't fought in a long time and is out of shape. Goku and Gohan take off flying to the camping location. Some rather mundane events occur, such as them catching fish and shit like that. And honestly, this opening segment is a whole lot of not much happening. And a lot of the game is like that, with the story at least. The game is merely trying to set up easier fights for you to participate in, so that you can learn how to use the game's controls. There is no tutorial in this game, only a training mode, which is fine if you've played any of the previous Budokai titles, because the gameplay is very similar. However, if this is your first time playing a Budokai game, the story mode starts off quite easy. There is a fight between Goku and Krillin, for example. We control Goku, who is much stronger and has more health, so you have a huge advantage over the AI, which allows you to experiment a bit. As the story progresses, the game does the opposite, with the odds being placed very much against the player. The enemies you face will have a lot more health and will spam their ultimate moves. This gives the game a very inconsistent difficulty curve, with one fight feeling like you win by the skin of your teeth, with the next being a cakewalk, which as a pure game design standpoint is not good, as ideally you'd want the difficulty curve to be fairly smooth. However, in the terms of a Dragon Ball Z game, I actually think this works really well. It lets the characters that are meant to be more powerful than others actually get to be more powerful in gameplay. And overall the difficulty isn't actually very high, so it never really gets frustrating. After each battle, you'll be given a rating. Your battle rank is judged on 3 things: time, tech, and life. The faster you defeat your opponent, the higher your time ranking. Tech, I'm not really sure about. I'm guessing it's based on the moves you use. Life is an obvious one. The more life you have at the end, the higher the ranking for this category. Now, depending on how you score in the categories, you can get one of these ranks: Z, S, A, B, C, D. Depending on how well you perform during a fight, you'll be rewarded with Zenny. Like I mentioned before, there is no capsule system or anything like that, so it's not like you need the Zenny to buy capsules. So what exactly do you spend the Zenny on? Well, I'm going to go over that a little bit later on the video, but let's just say it rhymes with the word disappointing. Dragon Road consists of 5 chapters, even though the menu makes it look like there will be much more. Why is there so much extra space? It tricked me into thinking there will be more, but there isn't. Anyway, while Goku and his friends are out camping, a portal between Hell and Earth opens up and the dead are being resurrected.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
Including 2 of the series' most notorious villains, Frieza and Cell. Yes, it wouldn't be a Budokai game without multiple fights against Cell and Frieza. Okay, it's nowhere near as repetitive as Budokai 2. This is mainly due to how often you'll be switching between characters, as this story mode isn't just played from one character's perspective. You get to play as almost all of the available characters at some point in the campaign, even the villains. This not only keeps the game from being less repetitive, but also allows for a more elaborate story since we aren't just stuck with following one character. During certain points in Dragon Road, there are branching paths that you can go down. To access these different story scenarios, you just need to pick a dialogue option that shows up during certain cutscenes. So these alternate routes aren't accessed through the core gameplay, which is a bit unfortunate, as this was sort of a thing in Budokai 3, where performing a certain way in a fight would change how the story played out. For example, you could unlock Oob by defeating King Boo with the Spirit Bomb. But yeah, these choices will change the fights that you participate in, and you will need to go down all the paths to unlock all of the characters. The impact that these paths have in the overall story is pretty negligible, as they don't really change the story in any meaningful way. It always plays out with Goku and Vegeta fusing into either Gogeta or Vegito to defeat the demon Janemba. You do get to pick which one to fuse into, which is pretty cool. By the way, Vegito is the right choice. His moveset works way better against Janemba, and this is coming from one who likes Gogeta better in his base form, which isn't even in this game. 0 out of 10. So the main plot is fine. It's based off the Fusion Reborn movie and has enough setup to make the main conflict not feel out of nowhere. Now the storytelling, on the other hand, is quite bad, as in a lot of it reads like a bad fan fiction. The characters just aren't written that well and feel a bit out of character. The best example takes place at the beginning of chapter 4. Janemba has the ability to alter reality and begins interfering with multiple dimensions and timelines in an attempt to throw the universe into chaos. Future Trunks ends up coming across Android 18, and the interaction goes like this.
Wait, calm down. You're that Trunks, right? Huh? You're the number 18 from the past? Exactly.
So this is the future of that world.
Looks that way.
Oh, I see. So here you're not doing anything bad?
Right now, I'm just a housewife.
Housewife? Well, anyway, what happened? What's going on with this world?
Huh? Did something happen? Well, man, this is annoying. Okay, so I'm only gonna say this once. Okay, I'm married to Krillin.
What?
We have a daughter.
What?
Her name's Marin. She takes after Krillin. She's really cute. Wait, how does an android have a daughter?
You see what I mean about the writing coming across very fan fiction-y? It's a shame that the writing is so bad because I really like the idea of the story. I just don't like the execution of it. The idea of having branching paths is really cool, but they don't really amount to anything. I really like the variety of characters that you get to play with while going through the story, but the actual character interactions aren't very engaging. Shin Budokai story mode is really let down by its story because the gameplay is fantastic. With better writing, this really could have been something special. Unfortunately, it falls short. There are a few other modes to play besides Dragon Road. Arcade mode is strange. Not because the gameplay is strange, as you essentially just participate in a bunch of fights, but rather the goal is strange. In arcade mode, you try to collect the Dragon Balls, which makes sense given that this is a Dragon Ball game. But, and this is a big but, even if you collect all 7, you will not be granted a wish. The character is granted a wish, but you as the player are not. It's strange because in previous Budokai games, you could choose from a few rewards, such as money or capsules. Oh yeah. So the shop in this game is terrible. Because there is no capsule system, they had to come up with something for you to spend your money on. And they came up with stickers that you can use to personalize your profile card.
Disappointing.
So to sum it up, the Dragon Balls don't grant you a wish because there is nothing worth wishing for. Profile cards are used as an ID in network battles. I haven't participated in any network battles, but apparently that's what the power level is for. Every network battle you win raises your power level, and having a higher power level means something, and I don't know. In Z trial mode, there are 2 different modes you can play, time attack and survival. There are 7 courses in time attack where you must defeat various enemies as quickly as possible. Survival mode requires you to defeat as many opponents as possible in a row. It's a non-stop gauntlet and your health does not fully regenerate between fights. I don't really like the time pressure of the time attack mode, so I only played it once. Survival mode, on the other hand, is a lot of fun and adds a nice extra challenge. The training mode is essentially a carbon copy of Budokai 3. There are a load of options you can fiddle around with, making it a great mode to practice and experiment with characters. Just a really solid training mode as usual. The one glaring omission has to be the absence of a traditional versus mode, in which you can set up a custom match against the computer. I'm not sure why this was left out, because it seems like the most obvious mode to include. The various modes are nothing special. They all use the excellent core mechanics, so I couldn't say that any of them are bad. Dragon Road is by far the most substantial, though even with doing all of the branching pathways, it still isn't all that long. Plus, the small amount of characters to unlock doesn't give much reason for repeat playthroughs. Dragon Ball Z Shin Budokai's gameplay is fantastic, and is probably my favourite in the series. It plays a bit faster than Budokai 3, but without the annoying fatigue system found in Infinite World, and also without the soul-crushing AI. Unfortunately, this game is let down by its story mode. It had a lot of potential to provide something truly unique, but in the end, it just couldn't live up to that potential. But maybe the sequel did. Bye.